Jessica Shepard is an expert on the criminal mind.
Give me your hand. Get on your knees. Wilson, I need backup. One more thing.
This guy runs around grabbing up girls. He deserved a piece of your mind.
I did kick the guy.
That you did.
But her newest case doesn't fit the familiar patterns.
Body could have drifted in. We should check the tide charts.
Because this time,
I think I know him.
someone is profiling her.
I felt like I was being followed.
Now,
Does anyone get like a sick fixation on you? Might be stalking you.
each new clue is a message.
We pull her, might tip the killer, and we blow a good lead.
That's gonna put her at risk.
She's a cop. She knows the risks.
And every victim
There's been another murder.
is a warning.
Turns out I know both the victims.
This is not a coincidence.
I can take care of myself.
Really? Is that why people keep dying around you?
Crime scene is clean. No weapons, no prints, no witnesses.
How do you track a killer
This guy's covering his tracks. Thinks he's a pro.
when the killer is tracking you?
Shepard.
I can hear your heart beating.
Think he'd let you prowl without following you?
He's watching me.
Ashley Judd, Samuel L. Jackson, Andy Garcia.
You always tell your partner the truth!
Well, I'm telling you now.
There's nobody I can trust.
Twisted.
Welcome to They Called Us a Movie, testing the strength of friendships one terrible movie at a time. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and other podcast services by searching They Called Us a Movie, and find us on Twitter and Instagram at TicTamPod. That's TCDAM Pod. We are also now a proud member of Geek Vibes Nation, and you could find them at gvnation.com. Welcome back to They Called Us a Movie. This is Anthony Delvecchio, and with me as always is Dan Aquino and Mark Myers. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
So I thought in honor of this movie, I'd open a nice bottle Cabaret Sauvignon. And so if you don't hear me,
Ooh. You want to try a take two on that one?
what?
On the pronunciation. Our French listeners are throwing their televisions out the window. I don't know why they're watching this on television, but
Maybe they're watching it on YouTube.
yeah, our French YouTube viewers have tossed their TVs out in the streets of Paris right now.
Nice.
You could just say cab, right?
Yeah.
Nice cab.
I think I actually have that in my notes. Just cab.
Yeah.
She has to have a big pour of wine.
it's a type of red wine.
A blush. Yeah, so as we always talk about this week, what did you guys watch? Anything?
Yeah, I watched the Book of Boba Fett first episode, and I thought it was quite boring. And you know, that's all I have to say about that, really. I guess
That is
expected
all
more.
I have to say about that.
I figured from, Robert Rodriguez directing, an action-savvy director, there would be much more action in it. I think there's one action scene in the entire episode. Granted, it's one episode, so I'm not going to go too hard on it, but not promising. I'll keep watching just to see what happens. I'll give it another episode or two, but yeah, just a little underwhelmed.
Okay. I haven't seen that, but I also haven't seen any of The Mandalorian, so, that's just me.
And I hate Star Wars, so.
Mark hates Star Wars, so, you're not going to really get much conversation with us in this aspect of it.
Well, that's why you have me.
There you go.
I'm just giving you the lowdown, the 411, as they say.
You're watching this shit. I'm watching
Someone has to.
Letterkenny. Yeah.
What'd you say?
Mark, I'm saying I'm watching stupid ass shows like Letterkenny.
I have not watched anything, but a quick question about Letterkenny. I heard someone say that it's trying really hard to be It's Always Sunny. Is this true?
I don't think so. I think they're very different. I think It's Always Sunny leans into the idea that these are the worst people that you've ever met in your entire life, and that I don't think that's Letterkenny's vibe.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that person misses what both of them are trying to do.
Yeah, and just to say, it's not a person from Philadelphia, so it wasn't one of those like they're ripping off our show thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was someone else I knew, and I was like, oh, I haven't watched Letterkenny, so I'm like, I wonder, if this is true, if it's one of those things where I like a thing, but I don't like another thing, so I'm going to say it's copying.
Right. I feel like they both have lots of beer drinking. That's about it.
Okay.
Yeah. That's like the only thing that I could draw the parallels to.
And all right, so I think that's enough of a buffer between Dan and your movie. So.
Yes. So I watched 2 movies this week. I will get into one first. I watched Don't Look Up.
Oh, okay.
I thought it kind of sucked.
I've heard 50-50 on it from...
Like, satires are supposed to be funny, and I didn't get the idea that this one was trying to make me laugh, and...
You just didn't get it, Ant, as Adam McKay would say.
It's too on the nose.
That's the thing with Don't Look Up, is there's not a way to not get it. It's obvious. The metaphors in Don't Look Up are about as obvious as Love Gun. His dick is the gun is about as deep as the metaphors in Don't Look Up.
Yeah.
It's like, and it's like, yeah, you're showing us things that are obvious direct parallels to what we've just gone through in the last year and a half. Great. Got any? That's where it ends.
Where's the humor? Where is the subtlety?
Where's the subtlety? Where's the point in showing us it? It's like, yeah, I see this shit on the news all the time. People are stupid, and they want to be they basically want to be lied to, and then they realize they're being lied to when it's too late. Great. It's like I could turn on the news, and it's like it's exactly the same thing. It's not very clever in how it presents it, and it's not funny. It's just that's like Doctor Strangelove is super hilarious, and that's a satire of events happening as they're happening. It's like, and this is just not. It's not funny whatsoever. Nobody's really particularly likable in it.
Yeah,
like even DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence are supposed to be the 2 characters that we're identifying with, and he's not very likable. She's okay. She's fine, but yeah, I did not like it.
Yeah, the fun thing about the discourse I've heard on this movie is that the people that I've really liked it and are yelling at me to watch it are people I didn't expect to get it and tell me to watch it. I thought it'd be the ones that would be mad about the message.
Sure.
That's in it.
Yeah.
The boomers in my life. And it's the younger people, now you're included, that are just like, that movie's crap.
Hey, I'm considered a younger person.
I was going to say, you're being very generous to
right now. If I gave away the ages of the boomers, and
still counts. Relativity still counts.
Yeah, it's just weird that all the people that he seems to thought would love this movie seem to be the ones criticizing it, and it's kind of a weird dichotomy on Twitter.
I remember telling you guys how Idiocracy was a much better movie in terms of being a satire, right? I mean, it's showing you how we're progressing down this path where knowledge is kind of frowned upon, and it's better, like it's cooler to be dumb and all this, that, and the other thing. But it still has the humor. It still has a decent storyline. It's interesting, and it doesn't bash you over the head.
Right.
With its messages.
I think part of Idiocracy is that it's absurd. It's so over the top in terms of where the world has gone, and like Doctor Strangelove, going back to that because that's a political satire. It's like everybody is just such a buffoon in that movie that it's so over the top, and both of those movies are funny. This one just like, nope. It's basically direct 1-to-1 parallels between our real world and this movie, and then that's it.
It's the electrolytes. It's what plants crave.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
there's no electrolytes in this movie.
It doesn't have that. The closest thing they have to humor is probably Jonah Hill, and he got a couple chuckles out of me. Yeah, he was so unlikable, and I get it, it's supposed to be, but it's just it wasn't normal Jonah Hill performance, I guess.
Yeah.
It's so on the nose. Like, all right, yeah, man, I get it. That capitalism, this, that, and the other, global warming. Understand. We live in a hellhole as it is. I don't need to see it all the time. We watch movies to kind of escape from that in a way.
Sure.
You don't need to shove it down my throat that, yeah, the world is burning. Like Ant said, I look out my window, I could see that.
Yeah. But the second thing I watched, I went to the theaters. I'm surprised it's still in theaters. And I went to see Ghostbusters Afterlife. Got to watch it. And I enjoyed it. It's definitely the Force Awakens sort of situation where it's just hitting the exact same notes from the first one. But this is my nostalgia movie, really. I know people were creaming in their shorts over the nostalgia of No Way Home. And that was fine. I enjoyed that movie, but I don't really hold a special place in my heart for Spider-Man's 1 and 2. I just don't. There were movies that I saw when they came out, and I liked them, but I've seen them less than 5 times each. This movie, on the other hand, is hitting all those great nostalgia bones, and I will fully admit that I liked it 100% because of nostalgia. It's a fine movie. It's fun. It's not great, and I think I honestly didn't need to. A spoiler alert. I'm going to spoil that the original Ghostbusters do show up in this at the end. I didn't need them to show up and look old as fuck in their jumpsuits, to be honest with you.
I wish they had made a mention of them earlier, because other than Ray, it would have been cool to see how they got to, where are they, in like Oklahoma or Nebraska?
Oklahoma, yeah.
Yeah. So it would have been cool to see them kind of, instead of them just showing up when the apocalypse is about to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then, obviously Bill Murray with the witty one-liners and all that. But it's 100% Force Awakens, beat for beat. But I still enjoyed the characters enough to let it slide, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I absolutely hated Paul Rudd and the mother becoming the gatekeeper and the keymaster, having a full-blown conversation. And like their voices are like deep and it's so lame. So lame.
There are some cringy things to it.
Yeah.
Her having the same exact dress for some reason.
Right. Again, the nostalgia. Like, hey, remember in the first movie she wore this.
Yeah. That was kind of silly. One thing that was going through my brain, it was like Carrie Coon plays the mother and the daughter of Egon, and I'm just like, she's old enough that she would have existed in the first movie. Where was she?
Yeah, you'd think so, right?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, 1984. Carrie Coon is not a year older than me. She's several. She's probably my sister's age, maybe.
Maybe that's what they were going for. Like she's just younger. I don't know.
But she can't. Like she's at least like 40 in this movie, right? You would think she's got a 15-year-old. You would think that in the logic of the movie. Oh, she's from 1981. So yeah, she's a little bit older than my sister. So she should be 39, 40. So she is
right.
She is old enough to exist in 1984 in this universe. Maybe she's supposed to be someone that's not. But then she's definitely older than someone that exists that was born in 1989.
Definitely.
When the second movie comes out.
Right.
That was the logic.
That's a good point.
That's the logic of the movie that kind of irked me a little bit. I was like, where was she in 1989?
They don't even mention 1989's movie in Afterlife.
No, they don't.
So
fucking Statue of Liberty walked in that movie, and they just never talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah. But at the same time, it warmed my heart to see, quote unquote, all 4 of the originals in the gear with the proton packs. Obviously with the ghost of Harold Ramis, Egon.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun. I still got a kick out of when the proton packs first turned on. It definitely hit the right, like you said, it hit the right notes for people like us. It was a love letter to the original Ghostbusters fans. Yeah,
and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with it being very a shallow remember berries sort of thing. That's really I didn't really need much more of that. It was fun. I had a good time.
Now, quick question for you.
Yeah.
Because you've gone on record on this podcast as saying you weren't a fan of the original Spider-Man movies.
I didn't say I wasn't a fan of the original Spider-Man movies. They were movies that I saw in theaters. I enjoyed them. I owned them on DVD. but they don't exist as movies that I go back to and remember super fondly. I think I was a little bit, so I was like, when's the first one come out? 2002?
2001.
2001, 2002. So I was like 16 or 17 at the time. That's kind of like out of that. I feel like that's out of the nostalgia range of things. You know, those were now movies that I'm consuming as a teenager with disposable income rather than movies that I went as a kid and then just wore the tape out when I was 9. You know, it's a little different.
Yeah.
It's a little different experience
Okay.
watching a movie at 16, 17 versus I'm watching a movie when I was 8. If I was 8 when Spider-Man came out, sure, I probably would have wore the DVD out, or I probably would still watch it anytime it's on television. But it's just not, that's just not where it lies in the world for me as a movie that was like, oh man, I'm going to pop on Spider-Man. Because I haven't seen it in probably close to 15 years, maybe.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. I honestly have a sinking suspicion they're not going to feel like they hold up particularly well after 10 years of MCU movies. I remember them being a little corny to begin with.
Yeah,
you know?
I think they went more on the campy side.
Very true to the comic sort of campiness. You know?
Like original, like Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, Spider-Man comics. Yeah, very.
I remember
lighthearted.
Willem Dafoe being especially hammy, and the voiceover when he's supposed to be in the suit, his dialogue being very hammy. I enjoy them, but they're not movies that I would put anywhere in my top 50 favorite movies of all time. I probably could think of 50 movies I like more than those, maybe even 100. Sure. I don't even know. Now, what was your point?
So I guess my point was going to be, so we have Ghostbusters Afterlife. I liked the Force Awakens, but we called it for what it was, essentially, right? It was A New Hope Part 2. We have Ghostbusters Afterlife as our nostalgia kick. And the people who liked The Force Awakens, I kind of see where they're coming from now, because they love Star Wars so much they're willing to forgive the same thing happening. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I feel like I was a little hard on that movie. I get it. And I was just wondering if you kind of felt the same, or if either of you felt the same.
Well, Mark hates Star Wars, so we'll probably, we'll ignore his opinion. I never disliked Force Awakens. I think Force Awakens is a fine movie. I like Last Jedi too. And I don't hate Return to Skywalker is not a good movie, or whatever it's called, Revenge of the Skywalker, Rise of
Skywalker, I think.
Rise of Skywalker, whatever. It's pretty bad in terms of things. There are things I like in it though. It's stupid. I would say that. It's not even so much that it's bad. It's just stupid and doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But there are things that I like in it. The whole scene where Kylo Ren is going to save the day at the end, and like he gets surrounded by those guys, and for whatever reason Adam Driver does that weird shrug after he pulls the lightsaber out from behind his back. I love that moment. My immersion of this world is completely broken when he does that, but I love it so much.
It's like he's
trolling. So odd. Yeah, it's just such an odd moment of like levity in this moment that doesn't feel like Star Wars whatsoever, but I just love that moment.
Sith Lord trolling.
Yeah. So I don't really hate any of them.
I'm surprised by that.
I think I realized very early on in my life that Star Wars isn't as good as people want them to be on the whole. I think the first two are excellent, but I think after Attack the Clones is probably where it was like, maybe the fact that these took 25 years to get made was a detriment to this series, basically.
Yeah.
Because actually it was probably like 18 years, I guess, between Return of the Jedi and Phantom Menace, because it was just an entire generation grew up of those three movies untouched in their perfectness, quote unquote. I don't think people quite have the nostalgia goggles for Return of the Jedi all of a sudden. I think a lot of people have kind of turned on that recently, but they're just fun. I don't think they're particularly special in the grand scheme of things. And I think that's the problem, that people think they are special when they are Marvel movies before Marvel was a thing, really.
Yeah. Do you think, how long till Fast and the Furious gets the nostalgia makeover?
Man, just go to the Jersey Shore. I'm sure there's people just like, oh man, I grew up with Fast and the Furious, bro. Go to DJ's.
My
That would
people.
be how long? I mean, that's such a huge franchise, right? I mean, sooner or later, it has to be remade or something, right? Like prequels are gonna come out, like Dom when he was 18.
Man, Mark could get only so erect right now.
Yeah. Dan, you're making it really hard for me right now. Literally.
In more ways
Oh,
than
Mark.
one.
Jeez. Have that effect on people, I guess.
Yep. Yeah, I feel like that's an older audience, so I don't know if there's going to be like nostalgia goggles for things like that.
I think the nostalgia thing was when they came back with the fourth movie.
Gotcha.
I think that's because it's a completely different thing from the fourth movie forward. So
Mhm.
the thing you're talking about, I think, happened in the fourth. Theoretically, that was a prequel because it all took place before Tokyo Drift. But
No one cares.
yeah, I know. You brought it up.
I did
Well,
not.
I brought it up. I think I've only seen one Fast and Furious movie. I love the idea that The Rock just like flat out refuses to work with Vin Diesel now. After Vin Diesel, like, you got to bring it home, brother, you know? And he was just like, no, I really don't. I'm not doing this.
I got my own thing. No.
Yeah, he doesn't need that anymore. It's hilarious. I don't know why it cracks me up so much because again, I've only seen one movie and it wasn't with The Rock.
Yeah.
But like, how this matters so much.
For you, it makes me laugh just because of all the things that I know about the contracts where Rock could never be seen to be taller than Vin Diesel when he's like 8 inches taller than him.
Just massive in general.
Yeah.
It's the best. I don't know why, but feud. It's such a silly feud.
Yeah. And I wonder if it's like not one-sided from The Rock, that it's not even like a feud for The Rock. He's just like, I'm The Rock. I don't need to work with someone who's unprofessional.
I have
You
10
know.
Jungle movies coming out in the next
You
few
know,
years.
you know.
He just loves stomping through the jungle with insert attractive
Yeah.
actress A.
It's like, I don't need to come back to this movie and work with your ass again. Is essentially his attitude.
Hey, he's like you said, he's doing his thing. I'm definitely waiting for these movies to get remade or, like we were talking about, have some sort of nostalgia kick back, and it's inevitable.
They already set the groundwork in the newest movies for if they wanted to go back to them as teenagers because they cast teen versions of them in it. So
starring Tom Holland,
yeah,
Timothy Chalamet.
It'll be too big for Fast and the Furious. Come on, who we get it?
Possibly. I was happy with Ghostbusters. I kind of want them to stop though, and I don't know if that's going to happen with how it ended with Winston kind of going to bankroll this stuff now. I was like, oh
Yeah, right.
man, I really don't want you guys to keep going.
Yeah.
It was a good end, I thought.
Yeah. It was a nice capper, but
Exactly.
Money talks.
Yep. Yeah.
But all right, that's all we watched. We talked a lot about it, about two movies, but we're gonna take a quick break, and you guys are gonna listen to some ads while we pay those bills, and we'll be back in a second. And welcome back. Now it's time to get into this week's movie, and this week was Mark's pick.
Yeah.
So, Mark, why don't you tell us what movie you picked this?
Yeah, so I had realized that we haven't had, it's not technically a genre, I guess, but a group of movies that I watched a bunch when they first came out in the early 2000s and late 90s. Most of those thrillers starring Ashley Judd. And so I looked through the list and I was like, all right, which one has the craziest premise? And I found it, the movie we watched this week, which is Twisted from 2004. And realized that I believe I did this for my original blog like 8-9 years ago. At this point, I had completely forgotten that I watched it. But yeah, this movie, holds up in the sense that it is very much one of those movies that she made back then. She's in trouble, or, she's the focus of the crime or the killer. So I was glad to see that. But the best thing I heard about this movie is that, as someone said, I believe it was in Letterboxd, said that it was the best 90s thriller released in 2004. And I believe that holds true because there are so many things that we knew by 2004 in terms of plot and writing and characterization, and that this movie did not have. It feels like a movie written in the 90s that they just finally got to put on film. And it just feels like with the stars in it, Samuel L. Jackson, Andy Garcia, and Ashley Judd, it was just like, oh, it's a quick paycheck. Easy movie to get paid for. And, it didn't look like any of them put in 100% of effort into this. But parts of this movie are very, very problematic in 2021. And a lot of how they deal with certain things, especially from the cop front and things like that. But I was glad that we put this movie out there, even though that I sort of got the twist about halfway through. And then we'll get to that after I hear your guys' thoughts on it.
Okay. Dan, what about you? Where are you coming from with Twisted?
Dreadful. Absolutely dreadful this movie is. Plodding pace. I hated the editing. The editing in this movie is terrible. It's Ashley Judd's character is in one place, and the next scene, she's in another place. And then the next scene, it's another place. They never tell you where she's going, how she got there, why she's there. It's just like 1 minute she's in the bathtub. The next scene, she's in the captain's office. Like, what? Where is the transitioning here? I figured out the twist pretty quickly, and that I've said that before on this podcast. If I could figure out the twist, it's not a good movie. I'm way too dumb, and you should be able to outsmart me pretty easily. Couldn't think whether this movie wanted to be Double Jeopardy or The Bone Collector, because Double Jeopardy, also starring Ashley Judd, right? She's framed for a murder, and she's not sure if she did it or not. And The Bone Collector, was it a policeman is the subject of a killing. They think it's a policeman. Holy shit, man! Everything about this.
That's the one with Angelina Jolie and Denzel.
Correct.
Bone
Yeah.
Collector?
Like, oh man, this was putrid. I think that's a good word to say. Putrid. I hated this movie. If I had hair to pull out, I would have been pulling my hair out watching it. And you brought up a good point. Like, I hate this woman. Everyone hates her.
Yeah.
The movie hates her.
Yes.
Everyone. Oh man. But it's weird because the movie hates her, but everybody wants to fuck her.
Yeah.
Right. Every man she meets, I gotta get me some Ashley Judd. And
despite the terrible haircut.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very early 2000s haircut.
I think I'm sporting the Ashley Judd right now, actually.
You pull it
You've
off.
got very
well.
similar haircuts. Yeah, I think so.
You look good. I do. Yeah. I'd frame you for a murder, Ant. Where was it? I've only seen a few Ashley Judd movies. So it's this movie, Double Jeopardy. I think she was in Kate and Leopold with Hugh Jackman.
I don't know if I don't think she's Kate. I think that might be Meg Ryan.
Meg Ryan is Kate.
But she could be in it.
She was in a movie with Hugh Jackman. I remember she does like a cheerleader routine.
Is it Someone Like You?
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
It's something with Hugh Jackman. I remember seeing
Someone
that.
Like You. Yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah,
not good. Someone like she's Jane Dale there. But yeah, so my Ashley Judd repertoire is very small. So I've never really gotten a feel for her. But apparently she likes to be in cop dramas. That was her thing in the 90s.
Yeah, because her run is Kiss the Girls in 97, Eye of the Beholder in 99, Double Jeopardy 99, High Crimes in 2002, and then Twisted was the last one in 2000. Then I think that movie just disappeared for a while, and then she never went back.
Yeah.
She was on an ABC show called Missing, so there's that cop drama.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Does she have ties to cops in her life or something like that?
I don't know. I just know her family's the Judds.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I know about her family. That are Winona Judd and her mom, which I don't know what her mom's name is. Naomi Judd.
Naomi Judd, yeah.
It was just one of those things where she got typecast, for those in that time period, and it feels like she was in more. But
yeah, this feels like a decade-long sort of thing, but was really only like 4 movies.
Yeah, but because it became nowadays it would be a meme.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a cop thriller, must have Ashley Judd in it.
Right.
I don't know what to think about Ashley Judd. Fine, I guess, right? I have no strong feeling one way or the other about Ashley Judd. She's just there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's
She's
okay
the,
in Kiss the Girls and Double Jeopardy, but yeah, it's not anything. She's not like this. She's the actress you hire when you need to make sure you have a okay to good performance. Like you just don't need somebody to tank it.
To make a callback to past, they called this a movie podcast. Is Ashley Judd the John Travolta of women actors?
What is she? Oatmeal? Is that what?
Yeah, just oatmeal.
Oatmeal, and who would be Thai food in this equation?
I don't
Juliette
have
Lewis?
anyone. Yeah, we don't have a Nicolas Cage comparison here.
I don't know.
Just trying to think time frame.
One in this movie, obviously, but
Yeah.
just saying, would we have to say she's the one-to-one comparison of John Travolta?
I don't normally say this about John Travolta, but I think he's more talented than Ashley Judd.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So what does that make her?
She's just, like I said, she's the person you put in a movie that'll be look really good in the poster, look good in trailers, won't be like god awful terrible, and you can put other good actors around her and she won't bring the movie down.
Ooh, I know exactly who she is.
Yeah.
She's her co-star from Someone Like You, not Hugh Jackman, but Greg Kinnear.
Yes,
Greg
there you go.
Kinnear. Oh my.
Yes,
She's
perfect.
yeah. You need someone to hit a single. Yeah, call Ashley Judd.
I noticed when I was looking on the IMDb page for Someone Like You, I saw Greg Kinnear. Like, that's how I know to stay away from this movie.
Ashley Judd is when you don't have Angelina Jolie money.
Right. Yeah,
There you go. There's the Thai food
poor
of
man's
that
Angelina
generation.
Jolie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Angelina Jolie is the Thai food.
Perfect. I think you hit the nail right on the head there.
Yeah. As for me, this is the first time I'm seeing this movie. I did see High Crimes in theaters, though.
Who?
I don't know, probably my parents.
Yeah.
I don't know why we saw High Crimes. It probably came out in January.
Hold on. High Crimes? I gotta see.
This is the one with Jim Caviezel.
Okay. I'm gonna check. You can keep going. I just want to see what came out during the time of High Crimes.
All right. So this movie, as we've mentioned, it hates Angelina Jolie's character, mostly because she's independent sexually. I will say, she likes boning, she likes fucking, and she likes wine.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, and they make the flimsiest of connections as to why she's like that.
Mm-hmm, yeah, and she also likes beating up perps while they're in custody. So ACAB, we have to point out.
Oh yeah, the opening.
I didn't, like you guys, I did not figure out the twist only because I was hung up on the fact that I knew the movie was trying to make us think that she was the killer, and I couldn't get over the fact that was the most obvious and better conclusion. I sat there thinking, like, I know it's not going to be, there's going to be a twist that comes out of this, but I wish there wasn't, because this would make a whole lot more sense. Yeah, this movie sucks. Everyone's trying to fuck Ashley Judd, and like inappropriately too. Like the lawyer, he's just like, "Why don't you come over my place?" Like they're standing in the middle of a jail, a jail. He's just like, "Why don't we, go back to my place and we can talk things over in my hot tub?" And then Andy Garcia too. They're like partners. They've shown no romantic link together, and he's like pawing her face, and he's cooking her a salmon dinner, which I think he was just cooking for himself, and she walked in on it.
He's
Like, he's gonna have that whole salmon to himself.
Huge salmon that he's just cooking up for himself. Yeah. This is an unfun movie.
No, and they made him the creepiest guy on the planet.
Yeah.
So, Ant, I feel like the reason why your parents went and saw High Crimes with you, get ready for this murderer's row of movies that came out. Ready?
So, did you track down what month this came out?
It was April.
April, okay.
According
April
to IMDb, 5th. April 5th, 2002. So I looked up what movies came out around that time in April 2002. So, all right, ready?
Mm-hmm.
Sweetest Thing with Cameron Diaz.
Oof.
Scorpion King with The Rock.
Damn. I saw that in theaters too.
Space Station, never heard of it.
Nope.
Barbershop I think the first
Has
barber
its fans.
shop.
Has its fans.
Absolutely. I don't think your parents would be in that demographic.
No.
American Psycho 2 with Mila Kunis.
Probably didn't go to theaters.
Probably not. And then Life or Something Like It with Angelina Jolie.
Oh, that's the one where she like is supposed to die, right?
I've never seen it.
I think that's the one where like Tony Shalhoub is like is some sort of prophet and tells her that she's gonna die, and then it's like living her life to the fullest sort of thing.
Yeah, that is Tony Shalhoub.
Yep. Oh, this is Greg Kinnear wannabe. Edward Burns is the love interest in this.
Well, at least Edward Burns has the Brooklyn accent. He's got a little flavor.
Actually, Edward Burns, let's be honest, he's when you don't have Ben Affleck money.
Yeah.
I liked Edward Burns in Saving Private Ryan. I thought he was.
Yeah. It would be just as good, if not better, if that was Ben Affleck in that role.
It's so the tagline for that is "Destiny is what you make of it." So that sounds like you're probably right.
Yeah, she got that bad wig in that movie too.
Yeah.
What's with the '90s with just taking these gorgeous actresses and that early 2000s and just giving them the worst haircuts?
I think we've kind of gone on record. We're saying we should really just sponge 2000.
Yeah.
From the record books, just there were no movies from 2000 to 2010. Like
she looks like she's 45 with this haircut.
Yeah, she does.
And she's probably barely north of 30 in 2002.
Yeah, they probably did it because Stucker Channing's in this and she was a brunette. So they're like, obviously her opposite needs to be blonde.
She's not even 30 in this movie. She is 27.
Away. 27?
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
1975 she was born.
She looks like a middle-aged Bette Midler.
Not Bette Midler. She looks like a middle-aged Bette Midler.
This is the haircut they buried Betty White in.
It's true.
Rest in peace, but my goodness.
That haircut is doing her no favor.
I don't understand it. Like
her haircut in Hackers is way better than this, and that haircut is awful.
Absolutely. Like you have undeniably top 20 most gorgeous women in all of Hollywood, like history, in Angelina Jolie, and you give her this haircut.
Yeah. And then you're talking about Hackers. There's someone that could pull off the Ashley Judd haircut in this.
Yeah. Stephen Herrick, you should be ashamed of yourself. You should be tried at Nuremberg for putting her in that wig.
Oh man, that's an affront to mankind.
But we're actually not talking about Life or Something Like That. We're talking about a completely different actress in the movie that we watched, Twisted. Yeah, it's not fun. I also thought it was really weird and it probably would happen because I don't think they would cancel the baseball game, but it was weird that they were at a live crime scene while a Giants game was going on in the background.
McCovey Cove.
And
McCovey Cove was packed too with people.
And Andy Garcia says the line that you imagine every cop would say, walks up to this crime scene, dead body on the scene, going, "So what's the score?"
Yeah. Just shooting the shit with a dead body.
Although we get a coroner scene where coroner is not eating.
That's true, and not listening to headphones, right?
Yeah. It was just Cameron Manheim, so this movie could remind us that this was made in 2004.
This movie was so boring.
It's unpleasant too. Like, she should be the killer. That's a more interesting movie.
Right.
That she's getting revenge on these men that take advantage of her, and she just is a crippling alcoholic.
She's a Black Widow, essentially.
They should have combined this movie and that one that came out last year or 2 years ago?
Promising Young Woman?
Yeah, that's it.
There you go. Yeah. And it just the logic of the whole thing is like, so spoiler alert, Samuel L. Jackson's the killer in this movie.
Yeah.
So he's going around finding out who she's sleeping with, and then he's like, oh man, I gotta kill another one. What the fuck?
Stop sleeping with so many people.
Like, he's just like, that's his whole life. He's the commissioner of the police force in San Francisco. He's spending all his extra time, the time in his hands he has, he's tailing Ashley Judd's character
Yeah.
until she hooks up with brings a guy back to her place to fuck, and then he's like, well, I got to kill this one now.
Yeah. The
Illogical.
the moment I realized, and I would like to know when Anne picked it up, but the moment I realized was when the second time they asked him to take her off the case, and he's like, no, she needs to stay on it. I'm like, okay.
That's exactly when I figured it out.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, this is, any police commissioner who that person's their mentor is like, no, get her to fuck off this case.
Yep.
We need to like have a cop watch her door to make sure she's not the killer.
Right. That's immediate, like, oh, it's Samuel L. Jackson.
Because they made it too obvious that it was either her or Andy Garcia.
Yeah.
I
And then
think it was the Asian lady who was the neighbor.
Yeah.
Like every time she blacked out, you just saw the Asian lady.
She never played anything into it. I thought she was going to talk to that woman, like, hey, have you seen me leave the apartment or something like that? Like, talk to the old lady.
Yeah.
I don't know why they had that in there, to be honest.
Yeah, and there was a late gasp where I thought they were going to make it the ex-boyfriend, but
Mark Pellegrino, Hulk Hogan's brother in No Holds Barred.
Yep.
Was that him?
Yep.
Oh, look at this guy, a returning TC Tam actor.
Yep. When that scene came with him not putting her off the case, I was just like, well, that seems irresponsible. It was like, why is she still on this case? Like after the second murder, it's like, this is at the very least a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
And he hides it from everybody.
Oh yeah. It's like, it's gonna hurt her career. It's like, good. It should. I mean, I really chalked it up to the thin blue line. That's really where my head was at. Like typical cops.
Yeah,
fucking pigs.
That whole conversation in the jailhouse. I was thinking of you, Aunt, when they were talking about, when they were on the pier talking. He's like, just say you're resisting.
Yeah, yep. I have that in my notes. But yeah, that's really what so you guys picked up on, and that's where you figured out. I was just like, that whole scene, I was just like, this makes perfect sense to me. He would absolutely do that because, cops protect cops.
Yeah.
Now, I want to know, how many times did he drug her wine? Because she polishes off every bottle every night.
Right. So that's the thing. So is he constantly going to her apartment? Like, all right, I know she's gonna be drinking the hooch, so
yeah, he must be. It's the only explanation.
Right.
Yeah, he just knows that, or he just swaps the bottles out every night he does a murder.
I guess. That would be like if Commissioner Gordon followed around Batman, just like murdered everybody that Batman hung out with, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, oh, this is obscene. I
bet Batman would have been happy a couple times if it was Robin that he did it
too. Like, Alfred's dead. Oh, God, no. That's such an abuse of power, first of all. There's so much more he could be doing as commissioner.
Yeah.
And outside of her doing that one case, which could possibly get thrown out because of the way she arrested him.
Yeah. That's the first thing that went through my mind when she kicks the guy. Like, well, there goes the case.
Yeah. She gets promoted for that. And that's the only qualification you're given. And,
That goes nowhere either.
Yep.
Yeah, the whole point of that guy is just to, keep the red herring going that she's the killer. Like him going, you and me, we're not that much we're not that different.
Yeah. It's weird because it would have been more interesting if it was like they're like, well, we got to release him now because you fucked up. And like the murders start, and then it's like, well, is it this guy or is it her?
Yeah.
For him to be the red herring of like, oh man, this guy's, how's she gonna get him? And then it winds up being her. Because that's the more interesting ending.
Thank you. I agree 100%.
Yeah, this movie 100% felt like a script that was sitting on some producer's desk for 8 years.
Yeah.
And they just had to make something to make whatever budget thing they have to do every year. And they were just like, we have to spend like, I don't know how much it costs, like $10 million?
Oh, this was like $50 million, I think.
Was it 50?
Yeah, this was
it was
cheap.
$50 million, and I thought that was obscene.
Yeah.
It only made 28 back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I think would have been more interesting, in my opinion? If it was sort of like a Memento type of movie where Ashley Judd's character witnesses dad kill the mother, kill himself. She kind of goes into shock with that, and she becomes a cop. She's murdering people. guess, are in her mind slighting her, or you give her whatever reason, but she's not remembering it, and she's tracking down the killer. Obviously, the killer kind of turns out to be her. But I think that would be more interesting, right? It's something she's blocking her past, but it's the past that's the reason that's causing her to be this person.
Yeah, there's only one line that I really like in this movie. It's when she's talking to the therapist, and he's like talking about, how you feel and all that. She's like, I'm working a case, and my best suspect is me. Like, how do you think I'm doing?
Yeah, no,
Like-
it would have been better if she was the main suspect.
That's a classic trailer line, right?
Yeah,
That's cut that, put it in the trailer. That's your hook, right?
yeah. I'm just like, it's actually a pretty decent line. The rest of it is like they try to like justifying the drug thing is because he used to be on Vice. I'm guessing Andy Garcia's character knew about party drugs.
Mm-hmm.
It's like all these really loose connections. It was real. Yeah, and like they made the thing that he would be the only one to know about Rohypnol when everyone they mentioned Rohypnol to is like, oh yeah, the date rape drug.
Right.
Like frat guys know what Rohypnol is.
Right. It's
like, why is it such a secret?
I thought Samuel L. Jackson's character has the flimsiest of reasons for doing why he does it. All right, my partner's wife cheated on him. Now I have to continuously murder people?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, you're talking about Samuel L. Jackson, right?
Yeah, like what?
Yeah,
okay, so
he was in love with the mother. That's why.
He says that?
Yeah.
When did he say that?
I think he was confessing at the end.
I don't remember him
He's like,
saying
I loved
that.
her or something.
I thought I loved him, like the partner.
I thought he said her. He could have said him. I'm not sure.
I don't remember. Regardless, yes, it is a flimsy reason. Because I don't really remember that whole point. He hates women that are sexually liberated. That's what it is.
Yeah.
This is a very misogynistic movie because that's not far from the point. Is that he's killing women that are free and practicing their sexuality.
Yeah.
Right? There's no other reason to kill these men. They don't do anything.
Watch being protectful,
They don't do anything to Ashley Judd that warrants murder. They have sex with her.
A couple of them are kind of creepy, but
they're creepy. And there's the dude that she brings home in the beginning that it gets a little rapey, but she's totally into it.
Yeah, there's consensual sex had there, I think.
Yeah, everything's above board. She admits, she took all of these guys home to fuck them. Nothing. She's not sexually assaulted at all in this movie. She has Mark Pellegrino. He tries. Yeah, he's the only one.
One of my favorite lines in this movie was when Ashley Judd and Andy Garcia are kind of they're hitting the path, they're hitting the beat, tracking down suspects, and they go to the apartment of the second victim.
Yeah.
And the landlady is like, oh yeah, he was always late with the rent and playing drums at night. I'm glad he's dead. Jesus.
And she's
what do you mean?
And then she's like something about it seems like he'd fuck any sort of whore or something
right to a cop's face.
Yeah.
No chill whatsoever.
So, Twisted from 2004 is directed by Philip Kaufman, who was the director of The Right Stuff, and he has a story by credit for Raiders of the Lost Ark. Stars Ashley Judd, Samuel L. Jackson, Andy Garcia, David Strathairn, Russell Wong, Cameron Manheim, Mark Pellegrino, and Titus Welliver. Has an IMDb score of 5.3, Rotten Tomatoes score of 1. 1%. That is dangerously low. Has a budget of $50 million, box office 40.9. Man, this
what
movie,
they call in the business as a bomb.
I don't know how this cost $50 million.
Where did it
Probably
go?
just because they shot on location. I don't know.
Actor salaries? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure the top 3 got a good amount of money. What do you think Ashley Judd was making in 2004? 10 million?
Less, right? It's got to be 6, 7.
Maybe. Let's say they all got 7 million apiece. Mm-hmm. $21 million went to that. That's not unthinkable.
No, probably not.
David Strathairn probably got 4 or 5, maybe a little bit less, because this was his pre-Oscar nomination.
Is this?
David Strathairn, the therapist.
Right.
Yeah.
His name probably had to have gotten the most, right? Samuel L. Jackson.
Maybe. I feel like Ashley Judd has to get the most, right? It is her movie.
Top billed.
Yeah.
It's also Hollywood, and she's a female. So.
That's true. So like 75% of what Samuel Jackson was making.
Yep.
But
I think he probably got the lion's share of that.
I guess he's two Star Wars movies in. Yeah. I feel like he shows up in a lot of shit movies, though. I feel like his asking price isn't as big as you'd think that it would be.
Yeah, because now it's also pre-Avengers, right?
Yeah, it's pre-Avengers, post-Attack of the Clones. It's a really weird time in Hollywood.
Right.
This is pre-Snakes on a Plane.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's true. So the Black Snake Moan, he did some strange titles, right?
Yeah, this was the same year as The Incredibles.
Okay.
But it was after SWAT and Basic and Triple X. Ooh, changing lanes.
He was on a losing streak.
It gets a little cold there in the early 2000s. Formula 51.
Never even heard of that.
Oh, I remember. This is the one where he wears a kilt, I think? Yeah. It's him and it's Robert Carlyle from 28 Weeks Later. Yeah, it's weird. An American master chemist plans to score big on a once-in-a-lifetime drug deal. All does not go as planned, and he is soon entangled in a web of deceit.
Can I just read a bit of trivia here? This is going to sound like I'm raining on Ashley Judd's parade in the movie, her character. But apparently, in the SFPD, so she gets a promotion at the beginning, right?
Mm-hmm.
She becomes an inspector. It says that an inspector rank is just the next rank above officer, and they have the exact same responsibility. So, I guess for you, Ashley Judd's character.
Somehow that made her a full-fledged detective.
Yeah.
Right.
She should have just stayed in her. Should have just stayed in her original position. Everybody liked her there.
Yeah. She was like the queen.
Yeah. Everybody else in her new position hated her fucking guts.
That's one of those tropes, right? Like not only is she a newbie, she's a woman, right? So you got to be.
Yeah, who also has a really good relationship with the commissioner.
Yeah.
Which probably doesn't help in most areas. If you got the
little nepotiz.
Yeah, that never helps, right? If you have high connections, people are gonna be gunning for you.
Mm-hmm.
I did quite enjoy the Samuel L. Jackson when he just completely shits on Mark Pellegrino's character. Walks in, he's like, "Tell me about the guy at the bar." "I'm off duty, man."
I totally get that, though. Come on, man. You got to be able to turn off at some point.
Yeah.
Right. That's the problem with America, right? They expect you to take your work home with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
capitalism, baby.
Maybe police force is different, but I couldn't imagine saying that to like the boss CEO of the company, where he goes, "Hey, show me you can do your job." "Oh man, why are you quizzing me?"
I would absolutely do that to my job. Like, yeah, I'm home right now. Do not expect me to answer emails or anything of the sort unless I'm getting paid.
I meant face to face.
Like, am I going to get paid to do this? I'll do it. If you want me to, if I'm on the clock, I'll do it. Good at something, never do it for free, Mark. All right.
Mm-hmm. So, do you guys want to get into the plot?
Let's do it.
Sure.
All right. Dan, what you got?
Okay, just going to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Geek Vibes Nation, Tia and Brittany. They are both part of a wonderful podcast, two podcasts actually. One, Tea Time with Tia, and Coffee Break with Tia. So both podcasts, Tia and Brittany, just kind of hanging out, shooting the shit, talking about random subjects, movies, TV shows, video games. Check them out, Geek Vibes Nation, gvnation.com. Tia is also the head writer for Geek Vibes Nation. She writes some wonderful articles. Brittany is on Twitch. She streams most nights of the week, Itty Bitty Brit, and you can check out Tia at TC_Stark.
Okay, great. And we are going to take a quick break, and you guys are going to listen to some messages from friends of the podcast, and we will be right back.
Hey, this is Ken M.
Padawan J.
Coach Duffy from the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour podcast. Every week, the ODPH is talking sports, movies, TV, comics, and more. It's always a parlay of topics on each episode. You can find the ODPH on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, and wherever you find great podcasts, such as the one you're listening to right now. Don't forget to check out OchoDuroParlayHour.com, where you can find the links to all of the ODPH social media accounts, links to the bands whose music you hear each week on the show, hashtag 607 podcast info, and parlay points, our companion blog section of the show. Thanks for listening to the ODPH. Now get back to your regularly scheduled podcast.
Welcome, travelers. Seems like you're looking for a story. Well, I got one for you. It involves adventure, friendship, and all sorts of...
Earl, why don't you tell him about that time I stole that big-ass melon?
Yeah, I was going for more...
Or you could tell him about the time I kicked her ass, Earl.
I wouldn't ever tell him.
Do I need to get my ref gear on?
Okay, everyone, shut up. Now come with me as I tell you a story from afar. Hey everybody, my name's David. I'm the DM for From Afar Podcast. A From Afar Podcast is all about four friends separated by distance, but brought together by adventure. Hope you all stop by and give us a listen. Thanks.
And welcome back. Now it's time to get into plot for Twisted. Almost forgot the name of the movie. We open right on a sexual assault as Ashley Judd gets groped at knife point in a place where there's no logical reason why she should be there. But surprise, she's actually a cop and winds up counter-moving the guy's hold on her and cuffs him. And then gives him a whole bunch of contradictory instructions and then kicks him in the face while he's handcuffed. A cab. And then good.
He was resisting it.
Mm-hmm. That's what they'll say. That's what they'll put in their police report. Fucking pigs. Then we cut to a bar as Ashley Judd's ass in a pair of jeans celebrates with seemingly the entire force. She plays Jessica Shepard. She's on the verge of promotion to the homicide department. And then Andy Garcia shows up, being all Andy Garcia in a leather jacket. And then Hulk Hogan's brother from No Holds Barred is there too. And he's less good of a police officer because he's getting overlooked for the same promotion. Then Nick Fury himself, Samuel L. Jackson, shows up and he's the police commissioner and Jessica's mentor. And he tells her she almost fucked up the whole situation with Porter, the guy that assaulted her in the opening scene. Or his name is Coulter or something like that.
Coulter, yeah.
Coulter. And apparently she did not do things by the book, which sounds sketch as fuck.
Yeah, you didn't have any backup. Like, what were you doing?
It seems like it just doesn't add up why she's there by herself. I get it.
It feels like they had an idea for her to be like this, off the book, sort of cop that gets the job done, but then they never go back to that.
Yeah, I feel like they probably had a longer scene planned of like how they got him there, but they're like, it's cheaper to just do it this way. Then John Mills, Samuel L. Jackson, apparently raised Jessica after his partner, her father, and her mother died in an accident, I think officially they say right here. Jessica then leaves her party to go to a dive bar to pick up a rando to take back to his place, and they fuck. It's kind of rapey. Like, he starts grabbing her really hard, but she counter moves it, but then she's totally into it too at the same time. I don't think 2004 is great for a time of like consent and what constitutes that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
She goes back to her apartment and just has a look at a box that has her childhood toys in it, which is a super normal thing to do. Oh, and underneath that are pictures of a crime scene with someone with a bullet in their head, which is also super normal for someone to do.
And the super normal thing she does with the toys is make them kiss.
There you go. So, well, she's just a sex pot, man.
Yeah.
Just fucking all the time, 24/7. Then she has to go to a court-mandated therapy session because of the assault in the first scene. It's David Strathairn as her therapist 1 year away from his Good Night and Good Luck Oscar nomination. And she says she doesn't need to be there because she's the picture of perfect mental health, which seems unlikely because she is a cop after all. And then she has some self-defense training, then goes to work at Homicide and meets her new partner. And surprise, it's Andy Garcia playing Inspector Del Marco. And the other inspectors already don't like her because they were working the case that she broke. Then the guy that assaulted Jessica in the first scene, Coulter, tells his lawyer that Jessica lured him to the location and beat him while he was in custody, which sounds like that's probable. Then Jessica and Del Marco show up to the jail and talk to the lawyer, Porter. Porter tells Jessica that Del Marco is a loose cannon, so watch out for him. And he also tells her that he still thinks about that night, so they have a history.
And I like how he's saying that Del Marco's the loose cannon when he's trying to get his client released because she abused a person in handcuffs.
Yeah, gotta watch out for that guy. Then Jessica has dinner with Mills, and he basically lays out the entire idea behind the thin blue line, telling her to rely on the self-defense idea, and it's her word against Coulter's in any investigation. ACAB. At the next therapy session, her therapist asks her about her parents, who mentions that her dad went on a killing spree, killed her mother, and then committed suicide. And then Jessica goes home and drinks wine. Then things get blurry and she passes out. She gets woken up by... Oh, God.
Sorry. So the only reason why they throw in the killing spree is because they want you to think that Ashley Judd's character is also going on a killing spree, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Because it's weird.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so the wife had the affair. That caused him to go on a killing spree.
Yeah, but we don't know that yet.
Yeah, we haven't found that out yet. It just, again, seems a little flimsy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how often. Maybe it's happened. I don't know. It just seems strange to me.
Yeah, and I like we'll go to the fact that, and this gets later in the movie stuff too, but her dad was a cop, went on a killing spree, killing people, and now there is people coming up dead that have a connection to her, and none of the cops are like, we should just put her in holding for a night or something.
The one cop is very suspicious of her, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forget his name.
Probably the good detective.
Right. Is Dale Becker.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Titus Welliver. So he's very suspicious because he comes like, oh, have we labeled Detective Shepard as a suspect? And everyone's like, get out of here, Dale. You hater, you. How dare you?
And then he's like,
out,
he was 100% right because he says, are we sure that she didn't sleep with a second victim? And she's like, I totally fucked victim number 2.
She attacks him for it.
Yeah, she kicks him right in the back.
Yeah, that's something that an honest police person does, right?
Kick a dude in the back. She gets woken up by her 2004 era cell phone ringing, and it's Delmarco telling her that they have a murder call to investigate, and she slept through the entire day.
I thought this was going to be a running gag throughout the movie.
Kind of is.
Right? Like, Jesus Christ, Shepard, how many times do I have to do this?
Yeah. And it's on the shores of the bay outside Packbell Park, currently Oracle Park. And they investigate the body while a game is going on, and JT Snow comes to the plate. Jessica realizes they come over you hear the PA announcer announce JT Snow come to plate.
I wonder how he did that year. I wonder what kind of numbers he put up in 2004.
I don't know. Why don't you pull that up for us?
Yeah.
Then Jessica realizes that she knows the guy that was killed. She fucked him about a month ago, I think. And she says it's been a while. At the autopsy, Cameron Manheim shows up to remind us it's 2004, and she says that she couldn't find any trace of evidence on the body. Delmarco and Jessica take the police boat out in the bay the next day to try and find a place where the murder could have taken place. They find sand in the body's jacket cuffs, so they go to a nearby park with a beach, which just so happens to be the same park where Jessica banged the dead guy. Right now, while watching this movie, I'm 100% sure she's murdering dudes she's picking up at the bar.
Yeah.
They go back to the precinct, and Jessica starts to think that they might have a serial killer, and the other cops laugh at her because they only have one body. Delmarco and Jessica then go to a Mexican restaurant, and Andy Garcia shows us just how white he is by his inability to clap along with the music.
I noticed that too. You shouldn't be frequenting that bar.
And Mark Pellegrino shows up for some reason and stares creepily at both of them for a bit, and Jessica swears he's not her boyfriend.
Real quick, Ant.
Yep.
JT Snow in 2004 with the San Francisco Giants batted .327, 12 home runs, 113 hits. How many RBI? He had 60 RBI, so not a terrible year.
Yeah, good. High average. It sounds like he didn't play the whole season if he only had 130 hits with a .320 average.
His OPS was .958. That's pretty good.
What was his at-bats?
He had 346 at-bats.
Sounds like a half a year.
He played 107 games.
Okay, yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah, not a bad season. Go JT
Snow.
Snow.
He only struck out 60 times.
Huh, not bad.
Not at all.
That
was a good reference for them to bring up, I guess.
Yeah, they didn't even know it in 2004. They were just trying to be timely. Then she goes home and drinks more wine because she can't stop having wine. Then she has a really weird moment and passes out, and is once again woken up by her 2004 era phone. Another body floating in the bay, and she notices she has a black eye and a cut on her face. Which now does that not make sense? Right? That doesn't. Why does that happen? Like she wakes up with a cut on her face and a black eye.
Now, also,
nightly,
yeah,
right?
Yeah,
that's what makes her not have an alibi. That's what makes her the suspect, is the fact that she passes out and can't remember what she does. Because he could around killing these guys, and then she would have an alibi to back up the fact that she didn't kill these dudes.
I think
He's the commissioner. No one's going to suspect the commissioner.
I think he was training her to be him because he basically lays out like he's going to have DeMarco kill himself, quote unquote.
Right.
You know,
his plan eventually is that it's all gonna fall on DelMarco, right?
Yeah.
But the basic part of his plan is that he drugs her nightly in order to get DelMarco. He's gonna plant the roofies on DelMarco, and it's like DelMarco's the one that is drugging her, so she passes out, so he kills the guys that she is not fucking at this current moment. This is falling apart. This is 100% falling apart.
No wonder why this probably sat on the shelf for 8 years.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Why on earth does he bail out the only person who could stop him at the end? You're planning on putting this on DeMarco. Keep her in the fucking jail cell. That way everyone knows it's not her.
There's a lot of parts of this where it's just like, okay, well, that doesn't make sense.
How did Samuel L. Jackson make it all the way to commissioner?
Yeah. Oof.
San Francisco, no less.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a very big city.
Yeah,
wow.
It feels like a movie that was written and they were like, well, we have to have the scene where she figures out that he's the killer.
Mm-hmm.
How do we do that?
Right, which is all well and good, but so don't drug her.
It's like they had all these pieces to a movie and then wasn't talented enough to put them all together.
Again, this movie is better if she's just the killer.
She's the killer. Or
damn, we can't hear you.
Or if he like really gaslights her, your dad was behind crazy.
Yeah.
Shit. Sorry.
It's okay. Let
me say.
Crazy.
Just gaslight her.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the one person that has the only normal reaction in this movie is that guy that comes in and throws all the folders in front of him and she starts crying. He's like sort of sitting there going, what do I do?
I wasn't expecting this.
I wasn't expecting this.
Yeah. So you go to the pier and investigate the body, and they notice the same cigarette burn as the other body. And what do you know? This is the guy that you picked up at the bar the night of the celebration party. They go to the autopsy this time. Okay.
Real quick, it's not going to be much longer. This goes back to Dan's editing point, because they make such a big deal early in the movie about showing that tattoo on his hand that you're like, all right, this guy's going to like die at some point, right? That tattoo is going to be connected somehow. Yeah. Like it wasn't even subtle. It was like, they zoomed in on it.
Yeah.
And that was terrible, terrible filmmaking.
They go to the autopsy this time, and Mannheim finds blood splatter inconsistent with the wounds on the body, so it might be the killer's. Then she goes to the therapist and tells him that she also knew this dead guy, and he says she needs to tell someone because she could be in danger. Then in the parking lot, she drops her keys in her car and winds up pulling a gun on the therapist because she thought someone was following her. And she goes to Mill's house and talks to him about her dad, and he tells her that he shouldn't have told her dad about her mother's affair, and that she should also just focus on the case. Back at the precinct, she starts going through the evidence with the other inspectors, going through the pictures and talking about the cigarette burns. Then one of the other inspectors suggests that Jessica is the killer because maybe she slept with victim number 2. He doesn't know that this is true, but it is true. And the male cops all have a great laugh about it. So she kicks the cop right in the back. And this could be the first movie we've watched that we heard the word cunt ever used.
I was thinking the same thing. It's like, man, he drops a hard C on her too.
Yeah, this movie hates women. DelMarco takes her. This movie is not a fan of this woman. DelMarco takes her out of the room and to cool off, and she tells him that she did in fact sleep with suspect number 2, or victim number 2, and he freaks out on her because she lied to him. So DelMarco and Jessica sit down with Mills and their lieutenant to discuss all these facts, and Jessica says that she feels like she's being watched, and she can't stop fiddling with her cigarette. Cigarette burns, guys, remember that. Then Mills tells her she's being reckless, and she needs to get her head on straight.
Is that the only reference to the cigarette? Does she smoke at any point?
She never smokes. She never smokes a cigarette throughout this movie. Then Mills tells her she's being reckless, and then they go to the bar where she picked up victim number 2, and the bartender knows her but thought she was a hooker. Then she manhandles the bartender because she's never seen the guy leave with anyone else but her. And she goes to his apartment, and the landlord says he was a piece of shit that would fuck anything. So she goes back to her apartment and finds Mark Pellegrino in her apartment, who then tries to assault her. So she beats the shit out of him and he tells her she's a psycho and leaves. Then she goes to speak to Coulter in jail, but she doesn't get much from him because this movie doesn't really care about this thread of plot. Then Coulter's lawyer shows up and freaks out on her for talking to his client without him, which is like, you got to blame your client for that. Cops are going to pull all the shady stuff, right? But then he sexually harasses her into trying to get her to come over to his place. In the back of the coroner, Cameron Manheim tells Jessica that the blood she found is in fact not the victim's, so if they find blood that matches, they'll find the killer. Jessica goes back to the precinct. The other Inspector Dale tells her that he knows that she slept with the other victim, and that it's crazy that she's still on the case and tries to goad her into attacking him. He's got a point. So she goes to Del Marco's place because she thinks that he told the other inspector about her history with victim number 2, and he yells at her because he says he didn't, and then he tells her she can't leave because they got quote-unquote work to do. I think the work is just having a romantic dinner of an enormous piece of salmon, which Del Marco was just going to cook for himself, I guess, before Jessica came by.
That might be the largest piece of salmon that I've
It's
ever
huge.
seen.
It's entire. That's like $30 worth of salmon, and then he hits on her because that is what a good partner does, I suppose. And then they make out, but she stops it before it goes any further. And this is the first time she's ever shown restraint whenever it's dick getting time.
Yeah, well, I think she mentions at one point that because of the ex, she was never going to do that and work again.
Yeah.
It's funny that there's no sexual chemistry between the two of them up until
Not
that
at all.
point.
Not at all. And he's like pawing at her face too.
They don't hint at it whatsoever.
Yeah.
I mean, in this scene, if you told me Andy Garcia was drunk in this scene, I'd 100% believe.
Probably.
They kind of make it's a very, again, flimsy where Samuel L. Jackson says, hey, don't shit where you eat. He's like, yeah, I got that. I'm not going to bang my partner. Thank you. And then the partner tries to bang her.
Yeah. And he feeds her, and then he's like, I love to watch you eat. I'm like, oof.
Gentlemen, don't say that to women.
Yeah.
Please. I like the way
Dial
you
it
eat.
back.
Not sexy.
Fuck, dude.
And then this was the first, looking back on it, hint they dropped about Samuel Jackson's character. Because he's like, he used to say, I eat just like my mother. And, in my head, at least, looking back, it's like, oh, that was putting it down that maybe he was obsessed with the mother,
Yeah.
Possibly, yeah.
Back at her apartment, she has a delivery of roses from the lawyer guy, and then she's got another big pour of wine that she down the hatches until she passes out again as she cuts the stems off the roses. So she goes to the lawyer guy Ray's house to see what kind of info he's got for her, and Ray's dead in the hot tub with cigarette burn on his hand. She gets interrogated by Del Marco, but it's more or less a formality, and the lieutenant says he wants to take her off the case, and Mills tells him no, it'll kill her career, which is insane that she's still on this case.
I love Titus's acting here when they're walking up to the scene and the lieutenant walks by him and he just points. Like, yep, she's right there. Of course she's.
Yeah. At this point, I've resigned myself that she won't be the killer because it's the most obvious and least stupid ending this movie could come up with. She talks to her therapist and then has some bad dreams. She then drops off her blood sample to Cameron Manheim and asks her to expedite testing her blood for her. She goes home and has more visions of herself killing the victims, so she decides to walk around the Presidio and nothing gets accomplished. And then we're back in her apartment with another big old glass of wine. Yeah. She's sucking down the Cabernet in the tub while she hears someone trying to enter her apartment. So she takes her gun out and opens the door, and it's Del Marco, who also draws his gun. He says he's getting a feeling that someone is following him too, so he comes into the apartment, locks the door behind him. She gets a bad feeling, so she tells him to get out and pulls the gun on him again, and then she passes out in his arms and says, everyone she kisses winds up dead. Classic Rogue origin story. Yeah. He puts her on the couch to sleep, and he acts like a real creep before he lights up a cigarette. She wakes up, and her phone is ringing again. But when she answers, they hang up. Don't know what that's about.
Yeah, that leads nowhere.
Yep. She goes to see Mills, who tries to test her of her awareness to her surroundings, and she fails. And he tells her she's falling to pieces. So she goes home to drink more wine. and Jimmy shows up and threatens to beat her, maybe even kill her. They tussle. She locks herself in a room, which he breaks the window to get in, and then she passes out.
Now,
when she wakes up, go ahead.
So Jimmy, at this point, has full control of what's going on, right? We don't know if Samuel Jackson, John Mills, is he there? Jimmy probably had an ample amount of time to just do whatever he wanted.
Yeah, it's crazy because doesn't she actually have? So he's killed by the corkscrew, right? She killed.
Yes.
You're led to believe that she stabs him in the head or the neck with a corkscrew, which I think she had in her hand when she goes to hide. So Mills would have to enter the apartment if he's not already in the apartment.
Overpower Jimmy,
then take this corkscrew and then kill Jimmy.
Right. Then set it up as if they, something had happened, possibly.
Unless he's there as Jimmy is there before she comes home.
Right.
And it would make a lot more sense to kill Jimmy before she gets home. But
right. Again, and like I said earlier, he's setting her up as the killer. Why?
Yeah. It doesn't seem to be his intention.
There's no payoff for that.
But his plan is putting her right in the crosshairs.
Yeah. It's such a poorly thought out plan.
Yeah. Like I said, it makes a lot more sense if she's just the one doing the killings. When she wakes up, Jimmy is dead, apparently killed by a corkscrew. She gets interrogated and breaks down crying. Her therapist shows up to talk to her while she sits in a jail cell. And Mills shows up with some tox screens of her blood to show that her blood tested positive for rohypnol. Mills takes Jessica out of jail and tells her that it was DelMarco. He's been following her and he has an intimate knowledge of her comings and goings. So they go to DelMarco's apartment and Mills starts pushing his weight around, pours them all a big old glass of wine and basically forces DelMarco to drink it. Starts telling him all about rohypnol, and it turns out that Mills drugged DelMarco and starts quote-unquote finding all the evidence around DelMarco's apartment. Mills starts setting up the quote-unquote crime scene and tells Jessica that he had to kill her mom and her dad. So basically, Commissioner Mills was killing all these guys because he just hates a woman with sexual independence, I suppose. Mike runs off, half drugged on rohypnol, and somehow makes it to the pier where we have one final standoff among the sea lions.
So unnecessary.
I laughed out loud when she shoots and all the sea lions start like doing their weird yelping noises. Just
or as the closed captions told me, barking.
Yeah, sea lion barking. Bravo to the sound engineer for putting that little piece in.
When the sea lion dives under Samuel L. Jackson's corpse at the end, I don't understand what the shot there is supposed to signify.
This whole pier scene is great. Just the cut back to the cop bar and all the cops like not knowing what to do and running out the door to try while he's on the phone. Yeah. I guess has him on speaker.
Yeah. Long story short, Jessica manages to call her old partner and hide the phone from Mills' view as he confesses the whole thing. And basically the whole precinct races to save her. So then Mills threatens to kill himself and then DelMarco, which causes Jessica to shoot and kill him. And then everyone shows up just in time to fish him out of the water. And that's the end of the very stupid Twisted. It's problematic, and we figured out live while going through the plot that it makes absolutely no sense. Wild stuff.
Yeah. And again, to make this movie better, you simply have her be the killer, or you essentially you have to leave a better trace away Ashley Judd. It's one of those two. You can't have it be lead the trail towards her only for you to say no, it's going to be DelMarco. That's never come up.
Right.
So either have it where it leads away from her or it's going to be her.
Right. So we're in the last 20 or so minutes of this movie. We're first led to believe it's Ashley Judd, and then we're led to believe it's Andy Garcia, and then we eventually find out it's Samuel L. Jackson. That ending makes the least sense.
Yeah.
Number one, Ashley Judd would make the most sense. Number two, Andy Garcia would make sense too. If he was upset with her going through the ranks, coming up the ranks quickly, because she's with Samuel L. Jackson is her mentor and he's the police commissioner, that would make sense. And maybe he just hates women. I could see that happening.
And he knows her past.
Right. That makes more sense if it's just he is drugging her and making it look like she is killing him. To
I
drug.
love-
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I love your idea, Ant, where Edmund Cutler, the guy from the beginning, Leland Orso's character, he gets off on, police battery, essentially, right? Like excessive force.
Yeah.
And the killings start again. And it's Ashley Judd, essentially masking, using that Edmund, using that as a cover for these killings. Like, oh, is it Edmund? Is it Shepard? I think that makes so much more sense, and it's such a more intriguing movie.
Yeah.
Because
It's
then,
definitely. Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say we are left. The movie that the ending this movie gave us makes the least amount of sense.
You could even have it where Samuel L. Jackson's character is, going to bat for her. I'm telling you, John, we got to take her off the case. No, you can't take her off the case. You can't. It's going to hurt her career. Maybe he's the one that has to put her down in the end.
Yeah. Or what they could have done was they have this movie play out more or less how it happens, but then she thinks it's Mills doing the killings for whatever reason. And then she goes to confront him and he's dead.
Ooh.
And it winds up being Andy Garcia.
Okay, yeah, that works out fine.
You got to reverse it.
Yeah, I could see that being, that's a way better twist than it being how it ended.
Yeah, like we stopped this podcast to try and figure it out because it doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Because his actions to what's his motive?
But here's what I think they wanted to go with the motive and just missed the mark. Is that he was obsessed with the mother. Maybe she looks like the mother now, so he's becoming obsessed with her the same way. But they never explain that or get to that point. That's just me probably being a better writer coming up with that.
Yeah, because again, she's not in any danger with any of these men other than Jimmy, who's an ex-boyfriend.
Yeah. Right.
So these guys are dying because she has a healthy sex life. It's probably unhealthy, like mentally. Like she's
using it to fill a void.
Yeah, exactly. But in terms like sexually, she's having a healthy sex life.
Yeah. They make sure to give a real good dig at her, though, man.
Yeah.
When what is it, the chief? Like, oh, she says, oh, I picked up a stranger at a bar and I took him home. You've never done that, Lieutenant? No, I haven't. Like, okay.
Like maybe in my dreams.
Oh yeah, maybe in my dreams. That's right. Wow. Okay, dude.
But yeah, like, cause I'm truly struggling to kind of piece together what his motive is and why his plan would be to put her in direct line of the investigation. Because it could just be like the lieutenant could have easily just said, "No, I'm pulling her off the case," which he says would kill her career. He's putting her career in jeopardy for this long con of pinning it all on Del Marco for no reason.
He gets her thrown in jail.
Yeah.
How is that not going to hurt your career? That's the worst thing that could happen, I'd imagine.
Yeah, this is wild.
So that's the worst thing that can happen to anybody's career, going to jail.
Not great.
Just cops.
Not great when you have to call and tell your boss, can't come in today. I'm kind of in jail.
I've gotten framed. I've been framed for murders of people I've slept with. That's a hard one to bounce back from.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really have anything else to say about this one.
No.
Yeah, just it's a poor movie. The Rotten Tomatoes score reflects accurately on Twisted.
It deserves a 1%, definitely.
I think the 1% comes from when Samuel L. Jackson mentions the title of the movie, when he says it's like something's twisted. It's a twisted world or something like that. That's probably where the 1% came from.
Yeah, probably. All right. Yeah, I think that's gonna wrap us up this week. I think this is another week where we don't really have our socials, so we're gonna kind of keep this short. I'm probably gonna cut this part out and we'll just do something with it. So that's gonna wrap us up this week. The director of Twisted was Philip Kaufman. So for Dan Aquino and Mark Myers, this is Anthony Davicchio telling Philip Kaufman, well, you certainly made a movie, didn't you? Thanks for listening to They Called Us a Movie. Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to check us out on Twitter and Instagram at TicTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. You can also check us out on TikTok at They Called Us a Movie.